Yeah. Here.
Yeah. That's good.
How was your week?
Had a fire week. We got to go see Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Strokes.
Crazy.
Can't complain.
Dream come true.
Facts. I also went to see Leon Bridges. Got it as a
Whoa, I didn't know that.
From the girlfriend. Yeah. What day did we go to the show? Tuesday? Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Thursday went to Leon Bridges at Forest Hills. Fire show. We ended up like somehow like they were like the way the stage was like situated. They reserved this small part for like disabled people. So it's like parked off, people in wheelchairs, whatever. Older people go and just sit there.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, there's like a part after it that's still like really good section to stand, and like no one was there. And we're like, what? So we just went there, and we basically got like front row seats.
Holy tickets,
yeah, and like it was fire. And we ran into mad people.
That you know?
Marissa and her boyfriend ended up coming, and then like last minute, like, and then I ran into like my friend Dan and his sister, like complete coincidence. So yeah, it's a party.
Did he play his old shit?
Yeah,
because
it was good.
I'm not that big a fan of.
There's a few stuff that's okay on his new album, but yeah, it was a fun show, and he's like, I don't know, definitely a pretty like solid performer.
No, he's great.
Yeah, it's a good week. This
weekend, Chili Pepper show was crazy.
Yeah, that was mad fun. I honestly, the most shocking thing from the whole experience were two things. One was how few people were there for the Strokes, which is like iconic band. Like, I don't know, that just blew my mind. And then two was just how much energy the Chili Peppers still have. Like at 60, just like more energy than like your average 20-year-old, which is not.
And they're still pumping out music.
Yeah. So, but yeah, great show. Appreciate the hit up on the ticket.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
What about this weekend? What'd you get up to?
Nothing big. I honestly like stayed low key. Was just working a good amount and gym, very low key.
Thanks.
Cooking. Yeah. Made some chili.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The legendary recipe.
Yeah. I made it vegetarian, so I made it with mushrooms. Mad good. I know you have your opinion, whatever, but it tastes nice. What about you? Give me your week rundown. And
so work has been pretty hardcore recently. Just a lot. Like the pace has picked up a lot, but I like that. Tuesday went to the office. That was pretty chill. Met some guys on the team I'd never met before. Wednesday, obviously. No, Eric wasn't in that day. Yeah, he wasn't in that day. Wednesday, obviously, the Chili Pepper show, which was just a dream come true from childhood. Was also surprised at how few people relative to the total occupancy were there for the Strokes. But I guess the overlap of their audience may not be as big as I thought. But for me, those are my two favorite bands, like, ever. And it was just crazy how, like, in my mind, the Strokes could go on a stadium tour on their own, and then they're opening for the Chili Peppers. And I mean, by sheer numbers, there was probably a lot of people, but because the stadium was so big, it just seemed very empty.
But they're like they headline like major festivals. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's also people like you have to get out there, and like it was a weekday.
Yeah, and it was like
I'm sure a weekend. Yeah, but yeah,
crazy. And I thought they had a killer set. I mean, they sounded way better than Outside Lands. Like the quality of the sound is really better. And then, yeah, what else? The Chili Peppers had an amazing set. They played for like 2 hours, and I still felt like it was too short. Yeah. Like I wish they went for another 2 hours.
It was just like classic after classic with some like shit songs missing. But
yeah, well, their new stuff, which isn't that good, but that was good. And then Thursday and Friday just worked. Saturday, yeah, we went to Brandon's birthday party yesterday. That was pretty fun. And then yesterday night, the UFC event.
Bro, I think that might have been my favorite. Like, that might have been one of my favorite. I mean, definitely, I think my favorite UFC moment I've seen. Definitely like top 5 sporting moments that I've seen. Just live, I was just like, yo.
Yeah. For people listening, we're talking about Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title on whatever the fuck the date was yesterday, August
20th.
And it was just a wild fight. You tuned in like round 2 or 3, right?
You what?
You tuned in around round 2 or 3?
Oh, yeah, at the end of round 3.
Okay, because round 1, Leon Edwards dominated. Like,
that's what I heard. And then I heard Usman was just like cruising,
Usman
and
got angry. Yeah, Usman got angry, was bullying him. Like, Leon Edwards' corner literally was like, don't let him bully you. Yeah. Bullying him.
Just the fourth quarter, he almost got knocked out. Like,
who? Edwards?
Yeah, Edwards almost got knocked out. Like, if that round had another minute, he was pretty cooked because he was just taking these headshots.
So and then in the 5th round, when like no one thought, like everyone thought it was a done deal.
There was 50 seconds left.
Yeah, Leon Edwards lands this like textbook but beautiful head kick with his left leg.
His shin, bro.
And his shin just completely shut Usman's lights out. And like, yeah, I mean, they were calling it the head kick heard around the world. It was just wild. It just shook up. I think like Usman is one of the bigger draws in UFC now. Like,
I mean, he's probably top 5. Like, probably top 5. Just he's like
I'd say top 3 of current fighting, like of active fighters. And I know he has a ton of respect and still has a ton of respect in the like overall sports world. And Edwards had not been active for a long time, so there was a like, you know, Usman dominated the first fight they had. But yeah, that head kick like came out of nowhere, and I think everyone was like, "Oh!" And of course,
I was just like,
yeah,
I was like, what just happened? Like,
I was texting maybe like 4 people who were also watching the fights, you included, and everyone was like, "What the fuck? What the fuck? Holy shit! Good God!" I didn't think that could happen.
Slow motion. The funniest shit was like you see his just the shin just come in and just like almost like bend around his head, and you see like in perfect slow motion, like the sweat from his head just like leave his face.
Yeah,
and like perfect. Yeah, it's nuts.
That's why it's such an exciting sport, because I think it really carries the lesson that reality has no regard for your feelings or what's the word I'm saying? Reality isn't what's in the mind of people. Reality is what reality is. And I think everyone, including Rogan, DC, John Anik, who are, commentating, they were like completely in agreement that Leon Edwards not only was done, but had given up.
Sure.
He's like, his spirit was broken, and then he just hits him with this head kick and completely knocks him out.
Yeah.
And it's like you can be Usman and people call you the pound for pound best of all time, and you're fighting and like dominating everyone. And as a fan, I'm thinking like, this guy's unstoppable. Like, he's in a different realm, but like he could get caught too.
I mean, the thing is, like, these guys, one solid punch, one solid kick is like, for anyone basically, is just going to be a KO. And like, it just takes one hit, as we saw. One
correct hit. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like, it's like a lethal weapon. But I've some beef with sports that it's just like I generally am less favorable towards like I like watching them more, but I don't think it leads to the non-better opponent winning more, like soccer, hockey, like boxing, UFC, where like low scoring, where there's like always, like in this case, right, it's like there's always a loaded gun. It's just one punch away from everything being over, even if someone's getting dominated. But it does make it, I do think, a more enjoyable sport to watch. But I do think it's like kind of fucked.
Well, I mean, I think that's the reason that there is a scoring system, that if there isn't a finish, then you're going to go off of like who dominated. And like Leon Edwards was down 4-1 or 3-1 rather, and was losing that 4th round as well. Like, he won the first round, but rounds 2, 3, and 4 got like it wasn't even close. They got dominated. But part of the role of a mixed martial artist is also being technically sound to protect yourself from getting KO'd. And I've never done kickboxing, but from what I was, listening to from the commentators was that the setup that Leon Edwards had was just like you fake a left punch so the opponent like moves his head right where the foot is going to be. Like apparently that's just textbook, and I don't know. I mean, the reason things are textbook for a reason,
Sure.
like they work when they work, they really work. But yeah, I mean, I get your point. It kind of feels like who is the better fighter, but at the end of the day, the sport is trying to simulate as closely as we can still within the realm of sport. Like if it was in the wild, man versus man, who would win? And if Usman didn't shut the lights out of Leon Edwards, even if he was dominating, he didn't win,
Sure. Yeah, I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
Totally. No, I hear. I'm just saying, like, even with like soccer though, like I'm sure if there's some statistical analysis, like because one goal can play such a large difference, like it's not uncommon to get a game that's 0-0, even if one's team is like dominating, and then for the bad team to like slip in a bad goal. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it just like, I don't know, but it's the sport. It is what it is, and it does make sense.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's also.
Would have some...
But I think that goes back to what I was trying to articulate later. Like reality doesn't exist. Okay,
sure.
What I mean is like what we think reality is not necessarily what reality is. And like if you take the soccer example, like one team could be playing 99% better, but the real only valuable thing at the end of the day is who scored a goal. Like
for sure.
Like, and I think to the audience, to like someone who's a fan of the sport who enjoys technique, it is like, damn, they played so much better, they didn't deserve that. But it's not about who deserves it, it's just who gets the job done.
Sure.
I do think that Usman will probably come back and murder Leon. I think it's, but isn't it interesting how we still think that even after he got caught with like a like KO of the year contender?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's why a lot of sports do like playoffs and stuff where you get like you do a best of 7, right? So you let things play out. But yeah, I mean,
you can't do that in 5.
But I also think it's reasonable. Yeah, I don't think it's reasonable to say like, oh yeah, he'll come back and rock. Like he'll still be the favorite just because like he dominated. He has a longer track record. But
and he has more KOs.
Yeah,
I think he has more KOs. I don't know if that's true, but he has a lot of KOs.
Yeah.
So I think he'll probably just go back to the drawing board, and 3 to 6 months there'll be a rematch, and I think it'll be a really good fight.
Someone said they think they'll milk it and do another welterweight fight and then do Usman and Edwards again, but
I think it's going to be right away because you think about Amanda Nunes lost to, I forget what the other woman's name is, and then 3 months later they had a rematch because Amanda Nunes was champion.
Not Ronda.
No. This is recently. No. You won't know the other woman's name. Amanda Nunes was champion. She
got knocked off.
She got beat the shit out of, and then this is like in the last few months. And then they had an immediate rematch, which I believe was 3 months, 4 months, came back and won the fight.
Sure.
I just think Usman has such a, like he was on I think either 15 or 16 fight winning streak. He was about to set the new record if he won this fight. So that must be kind of disappointing that now that's out of reach.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this was his 7th title defense. Like he deserves the rematch. And I don't think there's anyone that really could fight against Leon Edwards for the title because Usman beat the fuck out of all those people.
Sure.
The only thing could be Khamzat, but I think Khamzat is about to fight Nate Diaz.
Yeah, he's going to cook him.
I think so, but Nate Diaz has an iron chin and can't, like, he's never been knocked out, Nate Diaz wanted to fight Francis Ngannou. He was like, it's my last fight. The UFC give me Francis Ngannou. It's like, you're crazy.
He's cooked. I mean, he's got, like, Mike Tyson CTE. Like, they're,
yeah, but
there was a. I watched like a little clip from this interview with Mike Tyson. On the set of The Hangover, he was like completely coked up, and he was like, I could barely speak. Like I was like rubbing my nose, like I was like, holy shit. And it was really funny. I'll send you a link for it. But yeah, it's really funny.
But it was. I think Hamzat will most likely beat Nate Diaz, and then I think he will get the winner of Usman Leon Edwards 3.
Sure.
And I don't think Hamzat beats Usman if Usman is champion, but I think he beats Leon Edwards. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, this sport is crazy. And I also don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Styles make fight now.
It's just so exciting.
Sucks.
I went home from the party to watch the fights because I was like, I can't miss Usman.
I mean, that was
a fight.
Yeah, like I said, that was like the best fight.
One of the better ones.
Definitely.
Very good. We should go to a UFC event. Like if they bring it to New York,
we should probably go in the Garden.
They do one New York.
They're kind of bred, but yeah, we should do it.
Fuck it. We went to Chili Peppers.
I mean, it'd definitely be mad fun. Like,
yeah,
it's definitely a ratchet crowd, but it'd be mad fun.
I feel like the energy must be so crazy though. Like,
depends on the fight. If it was like if they did Usman and Edwards again at New York, that would be a fucking.
Yeah, they're trying to do. Dana White said, "Let's do it at Wembley," because he's from London, or from UK rather. So like, let's do it at Wembley. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
All right, talk to me. What's this first bullet point you got?
This one's short and quick, but have you seen this guy Mike Thurston or Thurston on YouTube?
Yeah. In Dubai.
Yeah, he just posted this video that he for his birthday week, whatever. He went to Ibiza, and it just looked insane. But it was cool. It was like what I thought was really interesting was a lot of these places, right? It's like Kiki on the River-esque places, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every single place he went to, like a core theme of it was having some kind of like show, dancing, acrobat, like circus du Soleil, like type of performance. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised. Like, I mean, Miami has that to an extent, but I'm surprised doesn't play a bigger role. Yeah.
In Miami.
Yeah. Like Vegas definitely has it because that's like Circus du Soleil is like there, and there's a lot of spin-offs, but like this seemed like central to Ibiza, but it's not really in Miami, and I imagine it would do quite well. But yeah, Ibiza looked insane, and it didn't look like ratchet. It looked like really cool. I mean, I'm sure that's the place he's going to, but yeah.
I gotta watch that video.
Yeah.
I like him. He's actually the first person I heard of that got a hair transplant. He got a hair transplant. Yeah. His hair looks great. Like it's short, but it looks good.
Sure. He's built like a Mack truck there. He's
so brolic.
There was a cool thing. So him and this other guy did this workout where it was called like a chip workout or something like that. Mm-hmm. And basically how it works is like, let's say we put whatever, like 75%. No, let's say we put 75% or 50% of whatever our bench press was, like 50%, 75% of our squat, whatever, like same thing with shoulder press, whatever. And like you do a circuit basically where you go to like 3-5 workouts, whatever, and you have to do 100 reps between the two people. So like we would start and you would knock out 10, I would knock out 10. Then
we should do that.
It seemed like, and then at the end, it's just like each person doing like one or two reps, but like, and it's like one after another and you like race through it. It just seemed like a cool thing because it's like, you just want to put in mad reps for like to contribute to the team. So I don't know. I thought it was really cool workout. I imagine that in itself could be a Barry's Rumble-esque like business in itself, like pairing with someone or having teams like I know we talked about this last time, like gamifying the gym, but yeah, it seemed mad cool, and yeah, we should definitely do it. We'll hit the sports.
I got lunch today with my friend Connor from high school, and he's like a meathead in the best sense of the word. He was a D1 rower, very, very athletic, competitive guy, and he was telling me that during the pandemic he would just do push-up workouts, alternated with like cardio, like going on runs. But he did something called deck of cards, which is what it sounds like. Like you take a deck of cards.
I made an app for it. You remember that?
But yours was it the same as
like,
what?
It's like if you got a 10, if you got a face card, it was like 10 reps, 10 push-ups, 10 air squats, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah,
I know you did it, but I guess I didn't know the concept of what it
connected
was
it.
at the time. But I'm
Mad good
like,
workout.
that's a good thing to do when like, I'm really interested in like since reading Atomic Habits, Tim Ferriss, all this shit. Like, how do you build momentum? Because when you're not doing something like, look, the non-soft thing to do is just fucking get after it. Don't fucking come up with strategy, just get after it. But
Sure.
sometimes it's either logistically or whatever. And I think it's
And most
important
people
to
do it
know like
stuff to
what
just brute force. Yeah.
and what can I do like that is going to be momentum building. And I think a deck of cards workout would be. I mean, it's pretty difficult. Like,
Bro, it's brawling. And the
yeah,
thing is,
it's
you race
brolic.
to try to do it in the quickest amount of time. Too.
Yeah, it's brolic, but you can. It's something about it sounds like, oh, I could do that, even though it's like what 435 max. I think if you the addition
You
of
always
the
do the same
total.
interrupt. Yeah. The thing is,
Um,
how it breaks the
yeah, it matters a lot.
distribution of it is crazy. Because if you get 10,
Yeah.
10, 10, 10, you're cooked. Like,
Yeah.
or if it's
So
like the same.
and you can rest as much as you want, right? It's just like you need to get through it.
Yeah, but we did it where it was like you had a race to get like you had to finish it in the least amount of time possible.
We should do those workouts like together.
Yeah, I'll send it. Yeah, I'll send you. I'll
Is it
find the link. I'll
deployed?
send it.
Is
Yeah,
it
it's like
deployed?
on a Heroku. It's on Heroku.
Okay, that'd be cool
I'll,
because I
I'll
don't know if I have a deck of cards.
Thanks.
That'd be good to do like one day upper like push-ups, one day squats,
I do.
maybe in the same day.
I do it all. I do like. I'll show you. It's a different
Workout with each card.
with each suit.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Connor was telling me he does only push-ups.
Interesting. That just sounds like I don't know.
Brutal.
This is like I mean you could
He's
do
like a
like
meathead,
two
though.
decks. Yeah, but I
I
just feel
kind of
like
want to
this
do
mixes
it.
it up more.
Yeah, I don't want to
I
mix
think
it up.
this is it. Yeah,
I want to do like one body part.
this one like and you can cut like I sent it to you. You can customize it. You can either have it pick like random workouts for you, or you can select each one.
Can it be just one?
Yeah. But you could
Okay,
also make
cool.
it like you could do
Per
like
suit.
one suit is like wide grip push-ups, one is regular push-ups, one's close grip, one's like
Okay, that's what he was saying. He's like, yeah, suit is like
a
diamond,
variation.
all this stuff. Yeah.
Because
I've been doing. I'll do it.
I
I'll
want to
check
make
it
it to like I was gonna publish it like on App Store or something. Like
out. Yeah, it'd be cool.
it
$1.
needs to be brushed up like a ton, but like
Yeah.
I mean like the bones are there.
Mhm.
So,
Fire.
fucks.
Yeah. So Ibiza. I feel like we need to plan more trips. Like just fun. Like let's go
Fuck.
for a week somewhere. Me, you, Pedro, Tomas, maybe.
Sure. Just get
Be
a
fun.
grip.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
I am a big fan of the month getaway, like whatever, month trip to somewhere and do something like Miami, Mexico City. Like I think Austin, I know I've been preaching this, but I think Austin.
I just
fun.
wouldn't
I
go
think
for a
Europe
month
would be
at
fun.
this point in life. Like it's too
I hear
much
you.
time not doing the shit I want to do.
I hear you. But
in the future,
that will
you know,
change or
yeah, it'll change.
could change.
It's seasonal, you know. You put it, you grind for a while, then you're down.
Yeah. And like I imagine could have a very similar life in certain places, but or maintain certain habits easily.
For sure.
I liked Hormozi's post on habits. He's like he was just like everything, all habits are pretty irrelevant. Like they're all a means to an end. All you need to do is like put in the work towards what you want to do. Everything else is just like should help you get there and hopefully not become a crutch. But with that said, I think it's like very important to have habits. But I did like the part where it's like you can have all these things and it's like at the end of the day you just need to like do the work. And obviously, like you said, it's nice to have like you have all your music stuff there. Everything is much easier. You have your work set up. So
I mean, a guitar is just annoying as fuck to travel with because most airlines break instruments.
Yeah.
Like airlines are notoriously not very respecting of instruments. So that's something.
Facts. Have the a good hack is whatever bag you check. This is like secondary to the point, but whenever you check a bag, throw one of those Apple AirTags or tiles in.
Elite. In case it gets missing.
Yeah, then you can pick, it's in St. Louis or wherever.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
I
that.
love my AirTag. I keep it in my backpack because I'm like, if it ever gets stolen or anything, it's like hidden decently well, and you can just find it.
I'm gonna write that down. Do you have more than one?
I just have one.
Are they
But they're pretty
expensive?
cool. I think they're like $25 or $30, and you can buy like I think they're $30. You can buy a 4-pack for $100.
I think they're pretty cool use cases for it.
Yeah, I had a post on it where it was like there's even cool stuff like you can do those shortcuts and stuff that are triggered because it has like a
because you could just tap something with your phone,
exactly. Yeah,
and then all your lights turn on or something.
You could have it do like anything, any trigger. You can have it like trigger something.
Pretty dope.
Yeah. Facts. So we have our next point here: bad philosophy. Mr. Deutsch.
So yeah, I was texting you that this book that listener of the podcast will know that I've been mentioning for a long time, but Beginning of Infinity, a book that Naval and Collison are both super enthusiastic about. Like they say, it's one of the best books they've ever read. And so obviously I'm going to read it and have been working through it probably for 3 months. I mean, it's a dense book. And I think a few times it's sort of hit me not in the like typical aha way, but like it seeps into my mind, and like I'll be walking and just realize like, oh shit, that's why that's dope. So
what's an example?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. So Deutsch has this fundamental philosophy that increasing our knowledge is fundamentally good, right? Like learning more deeply how the world works is fundamentally good. And his sort of expansion on Karl Popper's work of what the scientific method is that science is the process through which we develop explanations for things. And that's all it is. Like we are seeking to explain how the world works, and you can tell an explanation is good is when it is hard to vary and predicts many situations, right? Like it predicts the situation that it's describing. And he, it's less of a science book per se and more of just a philosophy book. And he applies his very unique worldview to all types of things. And there's a chapter on philosophy, and he also talks about political philosophy in this chapter. And what he writes is that a bad philosophy is one that provides explanations that are not good, meaning that you can vary details very easily. So you don't know if what you're saying is right or wrong. And two, it's kind of a general point that one of the ways that we arrive at true knowledge is through a system of conjecture and criticism. So you make a conjecture, you criticize it. If the criticism is valid, then the knowledge is not as robust. It's not a good explanation. You make it better. But he says like philosophy, bad philosophy is philosophy which is not sort of willing to be criticized or not able to be criticized. And when he was saying that, I was just thinking about, I think probably for all time, but definitely in our lifetime, like we see the sort of increasing polarization of like political extremism on social media. And I think one of the qualities, at least that I've observed, is that there's a lot of like, if you don't agree with me, you're evil, or if you don't agree with me, you're stupid,
or I'm gonna block you or whatever. Yeah.
And I think I don't think this is a fundamentally new concept for me, but it's just a new way of saying it. Like if I have a belief that I'm not willing to sort of allow to be criticized, then it's not like I'm not holding the right perspective. And I think that's I think that would be useful for people to know. It's like, do you have a belief which we all do, and I'm sure, like I'm unconscious of it in a lot of ways, but I think I like that explanation. Like the sign of a bad philosophy is one that is not able to be criticized either because of the people who hold it or the types of conjectures it makes. It's like you can't say anything about it, you know?
Sure. I have an interesting thought, or what I think is an interesting thought on related to that too. Like,
talk to me.
Whenever I find myself being like 100% confident on something, where I'm like, oh, I'm 100% sure this is the case, it is like infinitely more likely that I'm wrong than if I'm like, oh, I'm 95% confident on this. Like being 100%, I'm like, more often than not, it's like, okay. Or not more often than not, but it's just like a much higher amount I'm wrong. So I think the same thing where it's like something you believe so deeply and like, yeah, you kind of tune out things. I agree. Yeah.
Something he said that was also really interesting to me was sort of like about politics, is that his belief is that the ideal system of government is one that invites criticism. And basically, if you imagine what we have now, like democracy, but there was a system of getting someone out of office based on some formalized way of criticizing whether they're holding up to a certain standard that, either they promised the delivery of certain goals or blah, blah, blah. Because this whole thing is like, we arrive at true knowledge through conjecture and then criticism of conjecture. And the way we are going to know if there is an ideal, form of government is if we're able to sort of iterate quickly,
Sure.
And I think that's really, really interesting. Like, does it always need to be a revolution that
triggers a
new way of organizing government, or is there a precedent within the existing order to modify it and iterate it? And it would be cool to think about, like, it is probably the case that there are some people who have better ideas about how to govern the world than people 400 years ago who,
sure.
Or 300 whatever years ago.
Sure.
350, what is it, 340 years ago, something like that?
Sure. I think it's, I don't know, when like writing software or whatever, like it's really nice to have a quick feedback loop, right? Like the development time, if you can quickly, like we were talking about this the other day, like compiled languages versus like interpreted languages. Like if you're writing interpreted language, you can quickly just iterate through things. You don't have to really, there's not this compile time in between. But with like, I wonder with government what the ideal amount of time is, because like it's not bits and bytes, it's atoms and like people's lives and things. It's like, I wonder what the amount of time is reasonable. And I guess right now it's roughly 4 years, but yeah, I don't know. I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I wonder what the answer to that question is.
Yeah, I think that would also probably be like, how would you arrive at that answer? Probably through some system of conjecture and criticism, right? Like, because the whole point is conjecture and criticism is needed to develop like the quality of an explanation, I think is a good explanation, again, if the explanation is difficult to vary.
Sure.
I don't know. Obviously, I'm sure Deutsch has something to say about that, but yeah, I'm sure there would be some system of establishing metrics, like, do we expect that a leader is going to improve the economic situation all the time? Or like, is there a precedent when the situation is going down? Then we look at different metrics or blah, blah. Yeah, I think the overall point the overall thing that's interesting to me is that what would it take to implement newer, but not newer just for the sake that they're new, like arguments that we think are good arguments for how things should be done that are not the current way it's being done? What would it take to implement those? Is it possible within the current system? I don't know.
Sure. David and I spoke about this when we were like designing our app, thinking about like how we'd implement certain features and like design, and like we were speaking about how like if you design a very well designed system that tailors to humans' natural tendencies,
Mhm.
and you don't have a lot of rules in place, but you have a few core, like you have rules, but they're very core and fundamental. Like
Mhm.
you create a system that is like very self-governing, and I feel like we are moving away from that in the States, where we just have like, and I guess government by and large, where we just have so many rules and edge cases in place. And obviously the world's complex and messy and has these things, but I feel like we, uh, yeah, don't strive for simplicity.
Mhm.
But certain things are great, right? Like when you have a market system, like things, you know, by and large, obviously with some regulation, like figure themselves out.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean that. I think what you're talking about is basically just like a bottom up sort of a system that leverages bottom up dynamics instead of like top down because it allows for more complexity to grow, but it's like in an organic way
I
instead
think
of like.
it's more just like it's in line with like it just naturally fits with human incentives.
Mhm.
Like supply and demand. People want to sell at like sellers naturally want to sell at a higher price. People naturally want to buy at a lower at a lower price, and like
You
everything,
find an equilibrium.
yeah,
Yeah.
and everything like figures itself out with every individual actor. Like yeah,
Mhm.
acting on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah. It's exciting. I mean, I've definitely had, a saga with this book, but I think it is everything that is cracked up to be.
Sure.
Definitely is like a book you keep reading because it's not something you get on the first pass.
Sure.
I think they've all said it. He's read it like 10 times in 2 years, like just
Sure.
to really understand the points of it.
Sure.
Elite book.
I think I know we spoke about this earlier too, just about how like if whatever, let's say Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger and like Ray both like secretly were like, you know what, you really should read XYZ book. Like it's top 5 book we've ever read. Like
Mhm.
people would dedicate a substantial amount of time to it and get a lot out of it just because
Mhm.
like, yeah, I feel like because there's so much abundance in options of things to read, like we don't really go as deep as we should with certain books.
Mhm.
So, um,
Yeah, it's like that tweet I think that Naval had, which was, I don't want to read all the books. I just want to read the 100 best books of all time over and over and over
yeah,
again. Little tongue in cheek. Obviously, he's not saying there's only 100, but whatever those books are, there are probably more books that are 10s out of 10, 10 out of 10s than you can read in a lifetime. Probably, right? Because there's so many fucking books. I don't know. I'm inclined to say no, but like if you actually run the numbers on how many books are published and rise to the top,
I
there's
would
probably,
say no. I would say no.
yeah, maybe, but
And also it depends on like
your definition of 10, like
interest. Exactly.
for me, like the Name of the Wind, like that series, the
Sure.
the King Killer
King Killer,
Chronicle,
yeah.
easy 10 out of 10,
Sure. Sure.
easy 10 out of 10.
Sure.
There's probably some elite fiction out there that like I've never heard of, and it's kind of
Right.
exciting, right, to hunt for those. Like,
Sure. I mean, it's like
did you
music too. It's like, you know,
music, movies, art, like
yeah,
anything, food, restaurants, like all these things, and it does bring a lot of excitement to life. How like you really need to try a lot to find like how good something can be.
sure. I also think it's a great way to like refine one's palate. Like
Yeah.
you, if first book you ever pick up, like someone doesn't read a book and they read meditation or whatever, like a book that many people find, you know, very good. Like, oh yeah, it's good, but they have no clue, like no clue how good it is. Or like if you go to a great restaurant, like oh yeah, it's good food. Like having that palate is like, I think essential. Um,
I agree. I definitely, dude, I've really been thinking recently. Again, I think a common thing we talk about is like when things click for us that we've heard our whole lives. And the thing that's clicking for me is like, this whole thing about Steve Jobs, like the uh, basically like emphasizing saying no to 1,000 things. Like I feel like this last week I've been spread thin because I've committed to seeing friends or just doing things, and
sure.
that is one challenge about New York that my girlfriend actually talks about a lot. Like there's always
Something.
a person you want to see. Like today, I got lunch with my friend Connor. It was really fun, great conversation, but that was time. And I would not do it. Like I was aware that I was doing it. And I think like, what is an approach? Like I want to be more like say no to more things or maybe just implement hard rules. Like, you know, how Tim like famously has his no startup investing rule, no angel investing, but he has a new rule that he's just not going to read any books that were published this year.
Sure.
So if you're someone who's going to send him a book and ask him to write a blurb, he's not going to read it. Yeah. I think it's important to set those kinds of rules. And it's like we talked about in the last episode, like just having systems that are easy to follow. And I think in this case, it's like a decision-making system. Like if you had a rule like Monday to Friday, I'm not going to see anyone, or maybe like Friday I will, but you know, Sunday to Thursday, I'm not going to be social. I think it's a little rigid because it's a lot of value, but
right now I'm taking the 180 approach from that for the most part. Like
say yes to as many things.
Say yes to just mad shit. Like just try everything.
There's good arguments for both.
Yeah. I think like there are times in life where I'm like, okay, I just want to focus on this, but for the most part now it's just been like, and I feel like I'm coming to the end of this phase, but it's just like,
yeah, it's called New York summer, bro.
yeah. But like, just like, there's so many interesting things and things to learn and things to meet, things to try out, and like, I don't know. I feel like strike while the iron's hot. Like the teaching thing, like I definitely from a time perspective, like 0% makes sense to do, and like monetary, like financial reasons, 0% makes sense to do. Like all these things, it's like makes 0 sense to do, but it's like this is an opportunity. It's like now, and I can do it, and I'm like, fuck it, I gotta try it, and like I'll be spread super thin, but screw it. So like, I don't know. I think right now, but I think it is a temporary thing, and yeah, I don't think I've taken fully into account the cost of each thing. Like the opportunity cost of that is going to be quite high.
I think the more important thing is just like caring and awareness. I was having this conversation with a friend. Like, I think in life you need to be able to develop the skill of, said sort of just be real with yourself and be able to have an awareness about how you're measuring up without rose-colored glasses against your goals, and like have that check-in at different like levels pretty frequently. Like, so for example, what I want to be doing with my time right now is not really a lot of activities. And I know we've talked about this. It's like, I have a job, I make music, these things require a lot of time. And then I also have incredible sort of hunger to gain knowledge and read. And those three things, if you want to just do those three things in a day and then also work out, that's a lot of output, you know, because work is like, you know, 6 to 8 hours a day, like takes up the day. Music, I need to give in like 3 to 4 hours a day. And I also want to read 2 hours a day. It's like,
and you got to shower, shit, eat, like all
work out,
all logistics,
cook, clean.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's like involves, you just got to like all this shit that like takes up time, just strip it out. And I honestly just no social media and stuff alone will. But I hear you. I mean, I definitely feel very, I feel the things pulling at one's tongue for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
but that's why I said like
there is enough time. I don't want to be one of those people who says there's not enough time, because there is enough time, but you need to be. I think it is valuable to be very ruthless with one's time for whatever your goals are, but just be aware of what those goals are, and then constantly be aware and criticizing yourself. Like, am I actually doing those things? You know?
Sure. I think there's also many ways to compound things, like while going to the gym, while doing dishes, like
for sure,
listening to podcasts, audiobook, like, and I know it's not as deep as like sitting and focusing on it, but like,
yeah, you can use time. Yeah.
And there's different ways to do things. Like, I don't know. And we spoke about this before on the podcast. Like, working on a personal project and then like writing about a blog or talking about it's like everything can, you can kill multiple birds with one stone. But
Adam Grant on Tim Ferriss's podcast, Tim asked him, like, how do you get so much shit done? Like, you're incredibly highly published researcher. You're also consistently rated as the best professor at Wharton and like published books, all these kinds of things. And he said, like, one thing I do is none of my time is wasted. Like if I have 15 minutes going to, on a commute, I'm sitting on a bus or a train, like I'll be reading in those 15 minutes instead of scrolling my phone.
Exactly.
I think that's definitely a fact. Like you're doing dishes, put on a good podcast, use that time.
That's my go-to. Even the gym, it's just like
audio.
I'll read a light book, podcast, like walk 10 minutes each way walking. And obviously there are times you pause it, you bullshit, whatever. But like,
for sure.
How
are we doing on time?
John, I think we got another like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Tell me about, so you said you're reading, I know we spoke about this on the podcast, Psychology of Money. What has been some interesting learnings? I think it's a very consolidated, it takes a lot of ideas that are spread out and consolidates things pretty nicely. And like, curious.
Yeah, I'm only two chapters in, so I haven't read a ton of it, but what I have read, the first take or the first layer of takeaway was just how he's really, I think he is still setting the stage for how these things are going to relate to money, but he is, the first chapter is about how basically people's attitudes about money and spending are more based on what they experience in youth and around the time that they actually start getting, any level of disposable income versus, a rational analysis of what the markets are doing, what makes sense, numbers. And something that that was really interesting to me in that chapter was that he was like, it makes sense that it's hard to be really responsible with money because financial markets as a thing haven't been around for that long. And, like it takes a long time sort of evolving next to something, even if I'm not speaking necessarily specifically in the biological sense, but even like developing
like
customs within the context of cultural evolution. And it made me think about my personal experience, how sometimes I don't think I'm grossly irresponsible with money, but I do have this sense, which almost feels gross to say out loud, and I think it's a testament to how lucky, which is about chapter 2, but lucky I was to have the parents I had and whatever time they were working. Like we were never rich growing up, but I never felt like there was something we couldn't have. And, obviously like didn't have extremely like luxury. Like I wasn't, can I have a fucking, Lambo from my dad? Yeah. It's like, can I get this pair of soccer cleats? Like, can I buy this guitar? Like,
sure. Reasonable.
When it was my birthday, the birthday present I wanted, I could get. I didn't want crazy things, but, and I think like even when I was working at a coffee shop, even when I was working at my last job, like feeling like I can, like money doesn't feel, how does Andrew Huberman describe dopamine? A non-infinite, but renewable resource, Sure. It feels like non-infinite, like I can definitely run out of money, but it feels like I can always get more.
Sure.
And I don't know if that's irresponsible or responsible. I think it's probably a little bit of both, but it is, I've always been optimistic about like money. So I was just thinking like, where does that come from? Probably the fact that I was able to get, a nice guitar on my birthday when I was 13 or something like that, Very, very cool. And then I really like chapter 2 because he's talking about, I don't know if you remember, but he's talking about the role that luck played in Bill Gates' success. He ran the numbers. So by the time or when Bill Gates was going to school, high school, there were extremely few high schools with computers relative to how many high school age kids there were in the world, let alone in the U.S., let alone the world. And he tells a story of like the randomness that led for that school, Lakeside School, to have a computer in the first place, and then how Bill Gates just happened to go to that school, happened to have a teacher who inspired him to use the computer.
Sure.
And it was literally, mathematically, it was around 1 in a million chance, which is like 0.00001%. And I think a lot of people, I mean, Bill Gates is an extremely intelligent guy, but he says if it wasn't for Lakeside High School and this specific teacher, I would not, Microsoft would not exist.
Sure. Well, I mean, there'd probably be another company or
exactly, but
like someone else could have. But yeah, 100%.
Because also the thing I think about is like there's bound to be at a certain point in time enough people who are going to schools with computers that something's going to happen. But it's just interesting how like I think it is psychologically valuable to sort of so also in that chapter it talks about that Paul Allen with Bill Gates, but there was a third guy, Kent Edwards, who was like apparently a sharper programmer than Bill Gates, who was going to start Microsoft with him. They were best friends, and he died in his summer before his senior year in a mountaineering accident.
Right.
And the odds of dying in a mountaineering accident were almost lower than the odds of going to school with a computer. So this all goes to show luck and risk play huge roles in our lives, and I think it's psychologically valuable even to extrapolate and sort of extend past the realm of money. Like how many things in our lives that I think it is valuable to be real with yourself. It's like, this wasn't deterministic, or rather like this was not the result of my individual action. Like how sick is it to be born in New York, right?
Sure.
Like at a time where New York was very sick. If you read about before Giuliani got in, it was super unsafe. My dad was here, your parents were here. Like they probably tell you stories about like it was wild.
I mean, it's just like most of whatever we have today is attributed to like many external factors, right?
Yeah.
And like I don't know, people shit on people who are like models or whatever because they're like born with it, but it's like honestly, like people that are intelligent, many born, with natural intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Also, many people who you see that are successful have a lot of that are intelligent. Like grew up in a great environment. I mean, many people haven't, but but I think it brings it back to that point, like we were talking about Usman before, right? And it was like, he got caught with this like textbook move in kickboxing, but it's like there's like 20 textbook kickboxing moves and 20 textbook jiu-jitsu moves, and they're like you have to guard against all these things that are like 1 in a million, but if statistically like all of these things you just keep throwing them out there, like can happen, you have to guard against. So like I think I mean, once again, the same, it's like fooled by randomness. Like we don't attribute enough to luck and
randomness. Yeah.
And randomness. But
we got to publish at some point the Blumhouse reading list. We should do something like Ryan Holiday does. You know how he sends out the books I read this month email once a month. We should do something like that.
I'll actually use that to like recommend books to people. I'll like go through my list of books that I have like ranked out, at least that I've whatever in the last few years, and like it's definitely very useful. And I imagine
should we try that? Like do a little newsletter, just send it to like 4
not even
friends.
I think just having a page where just like, okay, these are our like top books, and like if we read books, we either put like both of our names or like whatever. I mean,
but we should put little blurbs as well, like
rating and just a little like high level, John.
Kind of like Collison has on his page.
Sure,
his list is elite. I got a book that's on my list.
Which
that
one?
He had it rated green, so his top rating. It's called something. What is it called? Something Incredibly Wonderful Happens. It's I believe, a biography about Frank Oppenheimer, who was Robert Oppenheimer's cousin, who had like a few fundamental breakthroughs in physics. And I am excited to read this book.
I read Oppenheimer's biography.
Was it sick?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it's just like mad interesting, and it's hilarious reading some of these books because like you'll hear Richard Feynman come in, you'll hear like Claude Chat, you'll hear all these like icons just like they were all rubbing elbows. But yeah, I'm sure that's interesting. I've read a few of his like Collison's like highly recommended books,
and they're all sick, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just think once
The
again, like
guy's a
we talked about Tor,
champion, yeah.
like if you acquire a good palate, like odds are probably going to be pretty good at the end.
Yeah, Paul Graham had a really interesting essay recently where he tries to make a case that there is an objective definition of good taste. And
I mean, that's like the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Like, what is quality?
And I'll probably make a mistake, but my understanding, if it is that you can approach good taste by sort of consensus of people who take something very seriously. So like if you have a food critic and like 5 food critics, again, it's not the position or the title, it's the work that they've done to refine their taste. So someone who has like actually studied all cuisine, someone who has studied, you know, the way flavors go together, different dishes, all whatever the fuck food critics, an elite one would do. If 5 of them are saying a restaurant is extremely good, that is not the same thing as like 5 run-of-the-mill non-trained people being like, this restaurant is good, this restaurant is good. Which is to say, I think there's that example sounds slightly elitist, but at the same time, I don't know if I would say that that's an objective truth, but I think it's a valuable directional, like it's a good heuristic.
I think the Rotten Tomatoes system is good. We have like an expert score and like a general public score. We have like a huge sample size, and then you have people who have like refined taste. Because I think both audiences are optimizing for different things. You know,
I think I thought that until recently, but we watched a movie that had a very high audience rating that sucked, and the way that changed my thinking was that, first of all, the Rotten Tomatoes critic score sucks because it's incredibly political now. So,
but like
that's Ed. But
I think system of like a pro and a.
I think the idea is good. In the theory of the idea is good, right? I think the application now in Rotten Tomatoes is pretty ass. But I think the thing with there is a bias with the audience scores, like who is going to say something, right? Like who is actually going to vote. And I think like in a lot of cases, it seems to be the people who really were about like wanted to see the movie are going to vote, you know?
Sure.
But you know, I found it reliable a lot of times, but I found it unreliable at other times, but maybe that's just my taste, you know? But I agree with you. I think it's a good system. It's kind of like barbell approach. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's like you'll see like there's a Michelin guide and then there's also like Yelp review, and like both of them combined, you can be like, if it has like a really high, if it has like 4 stars from like the public, but then like 2 Michelin stars, you can be like, okay, this is probably going to be like, let's say really fancy and certain dishes are really creative and unique, but it's not going to be like a, you know, satisfying, your average like great meal, right? Yeah. And then if it's like fucking whatever, like a Waffle House, I don't know, whatever, like a diner place, like no pro Michelin like reviewer is going to go there, but like people love it. So I don't know. Yeah. I think it gives you, the combined gives you like a separate score, which tells you like, okay, I think this is going to be X, Y, Z.
Yeah, I don't know if Paul Graham's argument is incredibly like, if it's correct or not, but I think it's an interesting argument that like there is something to, because I've always thought this about music. Like I've played music for a long time. I write music. I generally care more when getting music recommendations, not recommendations, but critiques of music from people who play instruments and like are musicians versus like non-musicians. Sure. And you know, they have like a musician's musician, a comedian's comedian, blah, blah. Like I'm interested in who the greats think is great.
Sure.
You know? That's not to say that, you know, anyone can have a preference, because often the people that a lot of people like, they like them for a reason. I think a good example is like Drake.
Sure.
You know, there's a reason he's Drake.
Sure.
But then you have someone like Jeff Buckley or Frank Ocean, where like most musicians I know think that they're on a different like field, you know?
Sure.
And I think the people who are their fans, like you probably agree with that statement. You love them. But like a lot of people, many people will know Drake songs and not know Frank Ocean songs or Jeff I have a lot of friends.
I'd say Frank crosses like the chasm, but
he kind of does. But, dude, I know a lot of people who couldn't name one Frank Ocean song. Like a lot of people who could name Drake.
I mean, he's headlining Coachella, like you know what I'm saying. Like, but I hear you. I agree. Like who an artist or restaurant, whatever, tailored to, and like, but we've spoken about this. Like, there's no objective. Like, if you love a song and it's your favorite song, like, great. Same with food. Like, and it's like. But there is this heuristic or like general way of categorizing things.
But it is interesting. It's like if you just as a thought experiment, like what is your favorite song after you've listened to 1,000,000 songs versus after you've listened to 100 songs? You know, that's kind of what I think about.
Sure.
Dude, I would love to see Frank Ocean at Coachella.
Honestly, I'd rather see him at like
a club in New York or something.
If
Sales.
He was at Radio City. No, Radio City. I mean, he would.
It's too small for him.
It's too small. But if he played there, it would be iconic.
Insane. I think we should normalize. Like, I would love to like listen to Chili Peppers at like Brooklyn Steel. That would be crazy. That would be crazy.
I mean, they would like blow the place up and like.
Yeah. But it's just not
worth their time.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, they might have fun doing it, but it's like not.
They're not gonna be like 3 shows. Like, if they did one show, the tickets would be like $1,000 a pop.
It's crazy how much I don't like the lineup of the day of Frank Ocean. Besides Frank Ocean, Lana Del Rey, Daniel Caesar. I mean, I'm not gonna go. So
yeah,
I think I would never. I'd have to go with like a group of people to Coachella.
I mean, it's like its own thing. It's like beyond just the music, but
yeah.
Okay.
Travis Scott's headlining Rage Against the Machine. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a good.
Rex Orange County is a tier 2 headliner. That's crazy. He's that big?
I think so. I mean, I'm sure maybe his Spotify.
Crazy.
Should we wrap up? We're at an hour.
Yeah.
Wow, he has 20 million
monthly listeners.
Yeah. Pretty good. All right.
Okay.
We will wrap things up and we will carry some of these ideas that we have down to next week's episode. Thank you to our listeners and much love.
Much love. Thank you to listeners. We didn't get a good podcast episode name. Fuck it. We'll figure it out. Yeah. All right. Deuces to the fam.
Peace. Much love.
Peace. Bro, imagine I wasn't recording this whole time. Wait, it's not done yet. I'll tell you when.
No.